Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anna Selivanova, Senior Lecturer of Department of Computer Science and Information Systems from Kyiv National University of Trade and Economics. And let me present you to attention a report on results of our research on the topic, computer simulation of processes that influence adolescent learning motivation. In this research, we present a local model as the individual object level of chasing external motivation, which give to determine students' effort to get towards. The concept of this model based on describing the behavior of agents, in our case students. As tool for modeling, we selected software part AnyLogic. Agent modeling technologies allow tracking the conditions under which each purchase will be made. And firstly, about the problematic briefly. Learning motivation, due to its multidisciplinary, the presence of various and sometimes even opposite factors that cause it emergence, developments and disappears, is one of the most difficult problems in psychology. A great deal of research is devoted to its solution, but there is still not a successfully considered model of this phenomenon that would allow teachers to successfully control changes in pupils' learning motivation. And the reason for this is not only the complexity of the phenomenon, but also its distinctive modifications and different stages of the child's development. Learners tend to persist in learn when they face an imaginable challenge, neither too easy or not too frustrating, and when they see the value and utility of what they are learning. And learners who focus on the learning rather than performance or who have instinctive motivation to learn tend to get goals for themselves and regard increasing their competence to be a goal. And teachers can be effective in encouraging students to focus on learning instead of performance and helping them to develop a learning reputation. Cloud technologies has a great potential to address the problem of solving processes of adolescent learning motivation, which is completely activity. In the modern world, it's extremely important to study the complex process in learning and the development of which can be effectively predicted by computer simulation. Learners to try to predict the learning when they face imaginable changes, neither too easy or not too frustrating, and when they see the value and utility of what they are learning. Given about the characteristic of phenomenon, it's possible to distinguish several blocks of learning motivation. And the first block is the personal meaning of learning for the student, learning the subject. The second block is extrinsic and intrinsic learning motivation. The third block is objectives of motivated activity are indicators of what an individual is focused on when performing a particular task. And the first block is the locus of control, the tendency to attribute success or failures to internal or external factors. The influence of the various factors can enhance or weaken adolescent learning motivation, and it's presented figure 1. The figure includes the number of conditional points that each factor can add to motivation. When an exterior locus of control is present in an adolescent, in difficult situation, his or her motivation for learning will decrease significantly. In particular, difficulties it completing a task will learn to decrease in effort and a drop of motivation in students with extrinsic motivation who believe that their task skills parents assist poorly, teachers explain poorly, and conversely increase motivation in students with an internal locus of control that associated the success or failure with the effort spent, since failure for the first group means impossibility that is difficult to change, whereas failure for the second group means that simply needs better try. It is visible to use agent modeling information technology to quickly track and respond changes in learning, as well to depict the dynamic of changing or weakening learning motivation. And the basis of describing behavior of the agent, in our case students, is based on a life cycle model. Each agent develops according to his or her own behavior model, which can change within his or her individual life cycle. And there are two types of agent model and definitional levels. Global models is multiplied object group in the basic of particular attribute, and local models at the individual object level. Figure number 2 presents model of agent behavior. According to the principle of agent behavior models, there are several approaches. The use of regression depends to determinate logic at the level of agent arrays, and the formation of a knowledge base of agent based on data mining to determine the logic of individual agent behavior. and use of the target functions to determine the logic of agent behavior. Investigating the change in the dynamic of enhancing the motivation of agent can be explained by the model of enhancing external motivation, figure number 3. And the first step in building the model will be determine the criteria and conditions under which the experiment will be studied. We will consider a comparatively small educational institution of 5,000 people. To implement the model, each student will be an agent. Using the model implemented in the AnyLogic Cloud software environment, its web service for applying simulation operationally, it is possible to determine students' effort to get rewards. The transition of agent from state 1 to state 2 by a change in color. Change in the parameters will be reflected the growth of agent and one or another category at the graph. As a result, at the diagram, we show approximate result that can be expected after the model is started. To test the work, you must run the model and follow this execution, and the number of interested agents is constantly growing and does not exceed the number of agents who have already received rewards, or most of the schedule. In certain area, if figure number 5, agent also successfully switch from one state to another, which is also accompanied by changing color. This indicates that the model successfully reflects the process that occurs when students are externally motivated. And the effectiveness of learning motivation depends largely one of the values that are important to a particular individual. Personal values are directly related to internal or external type of motivation. And using the knowledge base of agent enables the construction of local models and determine the logic of behavior at the individual agent level. Using the model implemented in the AnyLogic Cloud software environment, it is possible to determine the transition of agent from completely uninterested to receive rewards from extrinsic motivation. Implementation of the agent model of changing external motivation as an element of learning about student motivation provides a significant level of growth for the group of students who received rewards from external motivation. Thank you for your attention.